So I'll call to order this June meeting of the Eastham Climate Action, Energy and Climate Action Committee meeting. This meeting will be video recorded and broadcast over local channel 8 and through the town website at www.eastham-ma.gov. So welcome, everyone. As I said, it's a pretty packed agenda, which is, I think, indicative of some great work that everyone has been engaged with. But a lot of that kind of came together all today. So I don't know if we'll make it out for 6 o'clock, but hopefully it won't be too far after 6 if we have to. So with that, why don't we go around the table real quickly, and then as required, this is our reorganization meeting. So the first agenda item has to be officer elections. So let's go around first. Tom McNellis.
Olaf Hegland.
Roberta Longley.
John Boyney.
Mike Sarsian.
Harriet Emerson.
All right, and I guess Jack is here.
Kathy Doyle.
And Kathy.
Shana Brogan with the town of Eastham.
Shana. I don't know if we can get more volume out of those speakers.
Either.
Yeah, I don't know if is it coming out of the owl or is it coming out of the
Here's a plus minus.
okay.
Yeah, go on.
Okay, try that again, Shana.
Can you hear me?
That's better.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so today, as required each year before the beginning of the new fiscal year, we have the committee reorganizations. And as we mentioned last week, we'll start with nominations. We have 3 positions, chair, vice chair, and clerk. And nominations are to be done from the floor. So with no further ado, I'll open it up for nominations.
I nominate Tom as the chair, Roberta as the vice chair, and who's the current note taker?
Mike.
John?
Mike is the.
I know
That's about.
I nominate the status quo, which has operated very efficiently over the past 5 months.
I was hoping we could.
That's a very efficient motion.
Yeah, that was a very efficient motion. I agree on that. Are there any other nominations? All right, well, then at that, we'll call to a close nominations. Are there any questions or discussions? Do the nominees accept the nomination?
I accept.
That's a yes.
Yes, I accept.
And I will accept as well. And with that, we need a second, if there's a second for that motion.
Second.
Okay. So given that we have a single efficient motion to nominate the 3, we'll just vote on those 3. And I guess this should be a 1-by-1 roll call vote.
1, 2, 3. Oh, yeah.
They have a quorum.
So yes, we do have a quorum. So Olaf,
Aye.
Roberta,
Aye.
Are we voting for the slate?
the slate. Yeah, the slate.
Yes.
We could break it up if we need to.
No,
Very good.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So that's 6-0. Well, thank you, and I much thanks to John and Roberta, who are doing a tremendous job of assisting as officers and their advice and counsel and help week to week and month to month is greatly appreciated. So thank you. Thank you for the confidence in me. You can kick me out at any time, and I'll gladly.
thank you all for what you guys do.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of work.
All right. Next up then is public comment. Do we have any comments on items that are not on the agenda? Okay.
So guys, I just wanted to say that I've gotten from Helene some information about the workshop, the Climate Action Plan workshop, which went into our newsletter that went out last week, and we'll have some copies of the flyers that she sent me at our member meeting on the 28th.
Fantastic. Thanks, Kathy. That's a great help.
Oh, and I think we'll probably get on the Facebook page, but I will probably do it closer to the time of the meeting of that session.
Very good. Thank you. All right. With that, we'll turn it over to Shana.
I don't have much to update you on. I've just been working with Tom and Roberta on coordinating the climate action plan and the decarbonization plan, which we did receive about, I think it was like 3 weeks ago. And Rich is on vacation for a couple of weeks, so didn't get to get any updates from him, but I'm happy to answer any questions, and then, you know, I can comment on the other agenda items as they come up.
On the subject of EV chargers, Rivermore Energy had said that they were going to try to do a site visit, and they were initially hoping by May 31st. I'd warned them about the activities going on around the wastewater treatment special meeting. Any idea if that has happened?
I have not heard anything about that, so yeah, I'm not sure, but I'll check in with Rich. That sounds promising though, that they're gonna get going on, you know, getting those fixed.
Well, I think getting to the next stage is the important part so that we can get in the chute for possible funding. I think the idea is to try to get in before too much more funding gets clawed back. We don't know for sure from what John Tortolot told me. He doesn't know for sure until we actually get it in for the for the next stage of consideration as to whether there's still funding for us. So he's crossing his fingers. He has a plan B, which he will discuss with Rich if need be.
Sorry,
Right.
what's the source of the funding?
The source is the NEVI funding, the National EV Infrastructure. So that's federal.
I see.
And
Mhm.
some amount of that has been clawed back. We don't know how
Already.
much.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If there's still some,
Mhm.
and they are accepting applications.
Well, the current engineering evaluation is ongoing. They haven't stopped that. So that's still funded. The next step is to do the interconnect with Eversource with the site visit. And then all that goes up to the state for final consideration.
And
But-
this is at what location? I'm sorry, Tom.
This will be here at Town Hall.
At
Yeah.
Town Hall, okay, so additional, okay.
Yeah. So there'll be at least 4 heads.
Mhm.
And what he wanted to talk to Rich about is whether we take down the 4 old NLX chargers. Seems like a logical thing to do. We were not clear if those can be maintained, and several of them don't work. He said there's an opportunity to put in more than 4 if we wish. So I guess that's part of the discussions. He said it could be 6, it could be 12.
Would we entertain transitioning those to the library and adding more there?
He was interested in discussing, because I brought that up, what else can we do with the library? So he was interested in discussing that
I
with
mean, little
Rich.
two makes a little more sense at the library than here, since people tend to spend
Mm.
longer there versus here.
Mhm.
It's easier to get to.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I think the
Good
grant
point.
that went in was for the town
No,
hall.
no, I know that,
So
but.
that
if
one
there's
we're hoping to
other-
close out. Yeah.
And the other, I was also reading an article day before yesterday that the state of Pennsylvania is getting their NEVI money because their projects were submitted early enough to guarantee the funding.
Right.
So, and were approved. So I don't know
Mhm.
where the state of Massachusetts projects stand with respect to that,
Yeah,
what we're gonna get.
All I can say is he sounded hopeful. He sounded like the money may have already been obligated. But as we know, there's been talk about trying to even claw back obligated funds, which is unprecedented, but
Just try our best.
yeah, try our best. All right, very good. And I guess Shana, we in terms of timing to go look at and discuss the decarbonization roadmap, I guess we want to set a date on that.
Yeah, we'll set a date to go over, you know, give everybody a chance to review it. I know you've reviewed it and given really great comments. I'd like to have Rich there and the DPW to get their input on the plan. So since he's on vacation and they've got town meeting coming up, it's looking like probably maybe sometime in late June, I can try to shoot
Okay.
for.
Very good. Do you want to say anything about the climate action plan?
Sure, yeah, I mean, it's going really well. The Cape Cod Commission they're working really hard to put together, logos and just little postcards and bookmarks to give out to people so that they can go to the website that I think you received a link to yesterday from Tom. And we met today at the school, Roberta and Tom and the commission and I, to go over the outline for the plan. So it's looking like a 30 to 50 page document with appendices. And so we just kind of went through very high level what it might look like. And we're starting to get the word out there about the upcoming public information session and the pop-ups.
Good. Thank you. Okay, next up is minutes, and the minutes, hopefully you've had a chance to take a peek at those in the meeting packet. Are there any questions, comments, suggestions on there's 2 minutes, there's the April 14th minutes and the May 12th minutes.
I have no questions.
A motion to approve?
I.
We have a second?
I'll second.
All right, so let's, I think we can, unless there's any objections, we can vote on both minutes at once then. All in favor of approving the May 12th and the April 14th?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, 6-0. Very good. Next up, we have a series of, actually, we're gonna have more votes tonight than I think we've ever had in one meeting, but it's exciting. And what I did to try to make this a little bit more streamlined in terms of the discussion, as you may have seen in the meeting packet, I put a summary of the key points so that we're not dragging everyone through kind of line by line of the documents, but you all have the full documents and we can certainly go into any questions or comments on the full documents if you wish. But I thought it might be good to kind of go through the summary, which hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at, and that kind of highlights the major items that we're talking about and what we're looking for committee approval for. So the first up is the zero emissions vehicle policy. Roberta's been doing a great job of fostering that through and talking to all kinds of folks about, customizing it for Eastham. So turn it over to Roberta.
Okay. Well, first of all, just to remind you all, the reason we want this policy is because it's got to be part of the package of applying for climate leader designation with the state. And the reason we want to do that is because then we will be eligible for much larger grants that may be coming down the pike for not just energy efficiency, but decarbonization. So fortunately, the state has produced a sample document online, and what you received in your packet is a customized version of that that's appropriate. We feel for Eastham and language that's appropriate. Essentially, this policy would replace the current one that was established. It was called the Eastham Energy Efficiency Vehicle Policy prior. And Eastham had to do that to become a green community. So this simply replaces it, focusing much more on moving the town towards vehicles in purchases that are electric or plug-in. And there is kind of a hierarchy of what a town, what the policy would say in terms of what the town would look at when it wants to replace a vehicle. You first start with the electric vehicle. If that's appropriate, that's what you pick. If for whatever reason, and the town has that option, I think, depending on what the needs of the town are for the vehicle, the hierarchy goes then, to plug in to hybrid and standard vehicle. And it does not apply to specialized equipment up, like fire engines, ambulances, public safety vehicles at this point. It seems like it's a really common sense, policy that the state has developed with the idea of encouraging towns to look at this as they turn over their vehicles. And as vehicles become zero energy vehicles become more available to the public. So that's the idea behind it. The steps are that as a committee, we would review it and decide whether it makes sense to us or whether we want to recommend it to the town. And also, obviously, we want to vet it with Shana and Rich and whoever else, and Jackie, of course. And then ultimately pass this on to the select board to review and hopefully adopt. Did I miss anything on that?
No, I think it's perfect.
I have a question, Roberta.
Mhm.
With respect to selecting the electric vehicle, if it makes,
Uh-huh.
there's no other criteria? It doesn't have to meet a cost? Doesn't have to be less overall operating cost?
No.
It's solely just if there's a vehicle that exists that's
That meets their need.
electric,
Yes.
that meets the need,
Mhm.
doesn't matter if it costs 2 or 3 times as much than
Well,
a
that's the-
gas vehicle.
That's the choice, I mean, in terms of purchasing the vehicle?
Yeah.
I think that's the town's weighing whenever it's,
Okay, but I'm saying that's part of the criteria.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, but it's not specified in the policy.
Yeah.
But did you review the policy?
Yeah, I did
Yeah,
look at it,
yeah.
but I guess I was
Yeah.
surprised that there was not a cost analysis
Mhm.
tied to
Yeah.
the selection.
Well, it talks about operational needs, so I think from what we understand, it's a fairly broad term for what's needed for a particular item that, within a budget. And I think your point is well taken, that we should consider the full operating, ownership costs of the vehicle.
I'm just wondering if we wanted to get that as part of the policy, that's all I'm asking.
So,
Because what I was gonna say is that there are benefits that need to be accounted for if we do select electric vehicle, particularly demand response, right? Because there's income
That's a good point.
to be had there.
yeah.
So that should become part of the equation if there's a cost analysis. So that's why I asked the question.
Yeah,
I think the state has purposely kept this pretty broad for towns. And I think they're looking at certain aspects of this policy and it's checking off a box in a way to make sure that we're in line with what the state is asking, which is lenient, in my view.
But
It is.
Yeah, that's what I'm
yes.
concerned with.
Yeah.
And that is,
Yeah.
it'll be a document, but nobody's gonna really pay, abide by it.
But they,
take it
in a
serious.
way, the state will review our progress as a town, particularly as we go into future years to see if the town is making progress in zero energy vehicles. And if it's just stalls for years and years, they're gonna notice that.
So there's no
so-
incentives at the state level for the towns to want to do this. There's no incentivization.
So there's financial incentives, and we've included that as
Okay.
well.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, that's part of our draft to the select board,
Okay.
sampling of financial support. We had hoped to include federal, but we decided at this point that would
Yeah.
not, it just muddies the water,
Yep. agreed.
so.
So basically what the question I have is if you basically are replacing the most energy efficient vehicle, which is the current policy, to zero emission vehicle. And the efficiency we're looking for is not just looking at energy, but it's looking at greenhouse gas emissions. Maximizing efficiency, which is a good idea, and then minimizing cost of ownership, which is what you asked. Question you asked. Okay.
do we think that might be, Shana?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that since the policy exempts police, fire, and DPW type vehicles, which it could apply to their trucks, but they use them as plow vehicles in the natural resources and DPW departments. It really cuts down on the biggest departments that purchase vehicles most frequently. So it sounds like based off of this, in terms of the cost, it's going to apply to town hall vehicles, maybe the COA and the rec department, which has like 1 or 2 trucks. So it's not going to apply to a lot of vehicles that are purchased very frequently. So these departments may be able to keep that in mind as they're looking at buying new vehicles in the future. Whereas like the DPW and the police department, they have like a very strict schedule of when they're buying new vehicles, and they buy them fairly frequently every year.
Shana, what do you think would work best? I mean, Mike has an interesting suggestion. Should we say something about consideration for overall ownership costs? I mean, certainly that's got to be a concern for the town is operating cost, purchase and operating costs.
Yeah, I mean, that will definitely need to be taken into consideration and planned for. I don't know how you would address that in the policy itself, but I think, they'll have to factor that in as they're budgeting for these vehicles. And if the town wants to move in that direction, that's the cost that's going to be associated with it, unless the town can get grants for some of these vehicles. And a lot of the vehicles that the town buys are purchased through cooperative agreements, either through the state contracting or other cooperative procurement contracts. So the prices are actually of the vehicles themselves are reduced. We get them at a pretty reduced rate.
Well, I'm wondering, we could do something simple like it says when purchasing, the vehicle should be the most fuel efficient class. Well, actually, that's under the standard vehicles. Wait a minute, up above.
Where are you, Tom?
Yeah.
I'm looking
Bullet
at
on the third bullet.
4A,
Has-
third bullet.
Yeah, it has minimizing cost of ownership, which in my opinion, or in my take, is the first cost and the operational cost throughout the lifetime of the vehicle.
Oh, okay. So where it says minimize long-term environment and financial impact of fleet vehicles.
The last one there, maximize efficiency and minimizing cost of ownership. So, in other words, if maybe the electric vehicle is more expensive, but it's operationally, it's gonna be, lifetime cost is gonna be less, so there's gonna be some kind of a trade-off there, right?
So which paragraph are you looking?
So I'm looking at the very first list, the 3 bullets in purpose.
And the summary?
Yeah,
Okay.
the summary,
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
So the third bullet does not mandate procurement of products that do not perform adequately.
I'm sorry, which document is this?
Yeah, which
Is it your
document are you
meeting
looking at?
packet?
Looking at purpose, I'm
The
looking at this.
policy draft.
Purpose way up there. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry. So
yeah.
optimize.
Minimizing cost of ownership is already like highlighted there.
Where?
In the
And-
summary
and financial.
document. So,
Yeah, I'm looking at the summary. information.
Sorry, the
Yeah.
summary. Oh, sorry, I got all confused. All right,
Yeah.
okay.
I thought Tom said we were gonna look at the
Okay,
summary.
we're not
and then-
looking at-
yes, yeah.
Okay,
All
right.
Well, I'm just looking to see where we might
Yeah,
inject
look over
the
your shoulder.
word.
We're looking at the policy itself.
Yeah,
Because I think the minimized cost of ownership was a summary statement that may have come out of the one of the interesting things that the challenges here is that there's 2 documents. There's the document that Lisa Sullivan was referring us to, and she was trying to pull information out of that one. And then there was the template.
Right.
And I think I got this from her,
This, what are we talking about this? What? Oh, your, summary.
yes, my
Your got it.
summary.
Yeah.
I got it out of her other
Yeah.
document. So
Uh-huh.
perhaps what's best here, and I think Mike has a great idea, we should say minimize cost of ownership
And where would that be?
Where would, yeah, in the
Or-
policy itself, not.
under the purpose of the policy.
Under
Yeah.
purpose, okay,
Yeah.
number 2.
Minimize long-term
Purpose.
environmental impacts and financial impacts of fleet vehicles.
Right,
It's
and
okay,
minimize-
right there.
Okay.
We can add it right there, minimize cost of ownership.
Mhm.
Because there's a difference between the the
Acquisition
purchase,
cost.
the acquisition cost versus the total ownership
Yeah.
cost.
So minimize the long-term environmental and financial impacts and
And minimize cost of ownership.
of fleet
Right,
vehicles.
would that be, Mike, does that cover it?
Yeah, which, the cost of ownership should include demand response, the income if it's still. available.
Right, any additions or subtractions,
right.
yeah,
So maybe we just say total cost of ownership, which is.
total cost.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
That's the term of art.
A quick question, how big is the town's fleet? How many vehicles does the town own amongst the various departments?
Quite a few.
I don't have the vehicle fleet in front of me, but
Sure,
I would-
I was just curious how many were.
yeah, I think there's
Yeah.
40
four at
vehicles.
town hall. The
40.
COA has, their vans and things like that, but I think by
40,
far the
okay.
DPW and police department have the most vehicles.
It's around 40,
Yeah, 30 to 40, I would say.
okay.
We have the inventory if you want to see it.
Oh, I'm just
Yeah.
like how many vehicles we're talking about, just a ballpark.
But
Yeah.
many of them are heavy duty vehicles, so
Okay.
those are gonna happen later.
Okay.
So Shane, I just want to clarify, so the police chief's car and the fire chief's car or truck could be considered light duty and electric. Not, well, because, I know that the squad cars need to be certified with respect to a state or federal qualification, specification. So, I just wanted to make sure, but like, I don't think the chief's cars need to. Cause I don't think they actually take prisoners in the chief's car or fight a fire in the chief's car. They're basically just motor transportation.
Yeah, without looking at their most recent purchase, because I know that they do kind of outfit them with all of the equipment and things like that, but I don't know. Yeah, I think they're
I just
actually
want-
moving to larger vehicles for snow and flooding and accessibility. But I'd have to look at the inventory.
Okay, so we have one change that we can make in the suggestion. By the way, there will be more changes I suspect that the town may make in this. So this is just a starting point for the town to consider. And I'll also mention that the state is asking, I think requiring, that the school sign off on the policy. And it said school superintendent, and I think we interpreted that as the committee chair for for our elementary school, right, which is the one school that we actually have.
Because I think, Shana, that was the person who signed off on the first vehicle policy for the green communities.
Yeah, I think that would just encompass the town and not the regional school district. I don't think they meant that.
Hard to know what they mean. You ask them and they don't actually answer you in any straightforward way.
Yeah, and so I reached out to Linda Sassy today, and she strongly recommended that I talk to the executive assistant for the Nauset School Superintendent. She directed me away from the school committee. And by the way, they're meeting next door here tonight at 6 o'clock. So if anyone wants to talk to them, but so I'm waiting for her response back. And I will ask the question as to how we do this, because I don't know that they have any town vehicles on there in use for the elementary school.
Well, Lisa seems to think so. 'Cause
We'll
Lisa's
find
got
out.
them in-
Yeah.
in the list.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Because if they don't, there may be some modifications of this. Otherwise, we'll just ask them to sign it.
Yeah.
By the way, Cape Tech is starting to install the chargers for electric
Oh,
buses.
very good.
Great.
Used in the fall.
Nice, nice.
Okay. Progress.
So
Yeah.
with that, are we ready to vote on this? Any other questions?
Just want to say that there may be minor tweaks to the draft in terms of just linking to the Department of Education, I'm trying to say. The Green Communities website, there might be some linking, just minor tweaks, that's all, to what you see here. Nothing in terms of language.
Okay, so what we'd be voting on is to submit a letter of recommendation to to the select board via Jackie, which would recommend consideration of this zero emission vehicle first policy and the reasons for it, in addition to getting the climate leader designation, which is a key thing. It's also the other items that this does for us, which is greenhouse gas reductions, development of the infrastructure, and cost efficiency, because we can leverage grants.
Would you also say there's a qualitative, just serving as it's not branding, so to speak, it's just raising awareness of EVs? I don't know if these would be branded or recognized, or would there be something on them that says this is an EV vehicle, but the town's kind of walking the walk and talking the talk, and so they're just something to help raise awareness of EVs, and here they are, and your town's doing
They'll all be in,
That's a good
they'll all
point.
be in Winter Weekend Parade.
Oh, it was interesting because today during our meeting with the commission, one of the things they summarized in all their discussions around town is that people were like, well, shouldn't the town be doing something? Shouldn't the town be leading by example? Shouldn't the town be, doing their part? And it appeared that a lot of the people in town didn't know that we had EVs. Some people were saying, the town ought to get EVs. That was one of the examples. The town ought to get solar.
I think Harriet's point is well taken.
Yeah.
And perhaps we can add that as
Add that
one of the
in.
bullet points in the letter to the select.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, the final one, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, one other last question. Are the charging stations for the municipal fleet open to the public, or are they just gonna be municipal only?
I don't think other than those plugins for the Leafs, I don't think we have any other
No,
municipal.
for this, in other words, once we start to acquire,
Oh, that hasn't been decided yet.
okay,
Yeah, that's
I'm just wondering, because it doesn't say.
still a discussion to come. Right,
Yeah.
right. No, you're right. That's still to
In
come.
the bullet on the charging station programs, again, there's no guidance with respect to making them public. I'm just wondering if that needs.
Right. Well, that's what we're going to be helping with in the green communities discussions. So yeah, this is the beginning of the journey. So with that, I take a motion.
The motion is to what? Put this forth to the selectmen?
So yes, to
Select board.
submit for consideration to Jackie and the select board.
Okay.
Was that a motion?
Sure, I motion that we submit this as amended,
Yes, as
for
amended.
discussion.
Those two amendments.
To the select board and Ms. Jackie.
Again, there might be some slight changes in terms of linking to the webpage and so on, but I don't know if that needs to be.
Yes, that's in here.
Okay.
The ones that Lisa sent.
Yeah, we need a little discussion.
Okay.
Make sure we got the right webpage.
Sure, sure. Okay. Do we have a second?
Second?
All right, all in favor?
Uh,
Opposed? Okay, motion passes 6-0. All right, next up, I think is a little bit simpler because the strategic plan has been simplified. If anyone went to one of the sessions or viewed I think there may be a recording of the session that was held in the library a couple weeks ago. The strategic plan, which in the past has been a fairly bulky document, the committee and the planning department have decided to simplify it a little bit to make it easier to manage. The full document as mentioned is on the website of the Strategic Planning Committee, so you can go look at that. It's actually fairly short. And the public comment period is open until, I believe, June 15th. Now, everyone is welcome to go put in their comments, but Paul also asked us to provide a committee recommendation, a committee comment. This is a 5-year update, and what we're going to be what we're asked to do is an update, in terms of climate areas, an update in the front section, which is the focus areas. And then there's the goal sections where there's specific goals set up. Now, the goal for climate has been kind of reduced to 2 items. One is finish the climate action plan, and the second is a placeholder to plug in results from the climate action plan. I think we were a little disappointed that a lot of the things that we had submitted earlier in the past year didn't get pulled in, but that's not just us. A lot of things didn't get fully pulled in. It was, as I said, very much streamlined. Climate is a new focus area, so we were heard in that area. Paul has said that this is going to be a living document, so it's not going to be set for 5 years like the prior one. Their plan is to update this quarterly, depending on what's going on in the town. We will get a liaison with the Strategic Planning Committee, and they are indicated that they're ready to take the top items from the Climate Action Plan and incorporate it into the strategic plan. All right, so in looking at it, the couple things that Roberta and I, we were the ones, kind of going through this in more detail. The couple items that we noticed are listed here. One that really stuck out at us is that the wording kept referring to climate adaptation, which is only half of what we're trying to do. So the recommendation is to change that. There's several references, change it to climate action, which is a much more comprehensive term. The second item is in the description of that clean environment goal, and the goals are, the top level goals and strategies are kind of kept the same. Clean environment is still in there. But the wording, you can see in the meeting packets, it said, mitigate the impacts of climate change and develop a climate action plan. We thought it was more important to say that a little bit more comprehensively, we're advancing in multiple initiatives to reduce the sources of greenhouse gas pollution and the risks from the harmful effects of climate change. And this is in alignment with the climate policy adopted in 2020 at town meeting, and also in support of state and regional goals to reduce to net zero emissions by 2050. Right? So you can read the particular wording of that statement in that in the packet. So that is essentially the feedback that we had queued up. Any other thoughts or suggestions?
I'd like to see our use of the term liaison in that second paragraph. We also look forward to close collaboration via our liaison on updates to the plan incorporated. I just want to make sure.
Okay, so you're in the memo?
I'm in the memo, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, let me go to the memo. Okay,
because I want to make sure that they recognize that we expect that we got a seat at the table.
oh, I see what you're
Right,
saying.
so-
Okay. So you're thinking in the second paragraph?
Right. Yeah, well, we say, we also look forward to a close collaboration on updates to the plan to incorporate the key actions via our liaison.
Okay.
The town's climate, via the ECAC liaison or whatever.
Specifically to our liaison, since they said there will be one, but.
I just think
That's a good idea.
we
Yeah,
define
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mm.
okay. Any other thoughts,
Just a
feedback?
question on this, This piece here,
Mhm.
the right, so.
So you're in the area of the,
You're right after the memo, the actual action plan, and it says goal one, clean environment and resilient community.
and Kathy, I can send that to you. So I don't think,
That was in the meeting package, as you said.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then there were a bunch of specific documents that came after that. So Kathy can follow.
Well, the goal, a clean environment, and I'm not quite sure what that is, and a resilient community.
So Kathy, take a look at your email, you'll have that there.
So there they had climate adaptation, and we replaced that with climate action.
Mhm.
But most of the stuff here on this list, except for the very first item, are all related to adaptation, low-lying roads and stuff like that. Is the first item placeholder for future climate action plan items? Complete X of climate actions by 2030. Is that where we're kind of like putting in stationary, efficiency, all that kind of stuff?
Well, it's essentially what Paul and the committee did was keep items from the past, which is the low-lying roads, the conservation and zoning activities, etc. And then and you can see there's a placeholder for the hazard mitigation plan and a placeholder for the climate action plan. So he decided that rather than do this twice, he was going to wait until the plan was done in place,
I see, okay.
agreed to.
Yeah.
And then I think at that point we'll have some discussion on which of the items, because I think not everything from the climate action plan can make it in.
Yeah.
He's looking for the top items.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just wanted to double check.
Right, and I think Tom was right to say that we're going to ask for changes, make it at the higher level rather than at the action steps.
Right.
At the higher level, we want to ensure that mitigation and commitment to net zero is there. So that's where.
Got it. And the only reason why we only have goal one in ours is because that's only the one that pertains to us.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Any other thoughts? And again, you can look at the full plan and comment on any part of the plan as a citizen, and I would certainly, encourage everyone to take a look at that. So with that, what we're asking is for the committee to approve sending a letter of recommendation with our comments and markups to the strategic planning committee. Motion
To send our comments to strategic plan as stated.
Thank you.
Seconded.
And a second. Any other questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion passes 6-0. Moving right along. The decarbonization roadmap. This is a very large document. And much thanks to the Stationary Energy Working Group who really plowed through a lot of that. There's two pieces to the comments. There's some good high-level comments. And then I also threw in some kind of detailed line-by-line comments. And essentially, and Shane, if I interpret this properly, the consultant has sent a draft of the document with a lot of requests and areas that they're looking for additional inputs, and also I think a general request for town comment and review on the document. Does that summarize?
Yes, yep, there's a lot of missing information that they're looking to have filled in, background information, things like that throughout the document. So yeah, it's gonna take the DPW and building and maintenance and your input and trying to get all the pieces together to fill in all those blanks, and just looking through the information that they have provided us and cross-referencing and getting Rich's take on it.
All right, so, and as we mentioned, I should just state this again. This is an item that is required for the green, or the climate leader designation from green communities. It is,
Hoping to apply before the 12/31 deadline.
yes, yes, so this needs to be in place before that. I don't know what in place means. I guess the final, is there a sign off from the town on this, Shana? I don't remember. There must be some sort of.
Yeah, I think we have to have that and the approved vehicle policy to be able to apply.
Right.
Yeah, that, the select board has to adopt it, is what you mean.
Yeah, we're gonna,
Yeah.
yes.
I have
Right.
forgotten that detail, is that?
Yeah. So essentially what the roadmap does is it looks at all the buildings in town, primarily buildings. It kind of mentioned vehicles, but did a very
open space.
cursory. Whatever the heck open space is. I don't know how open space can use natural gas and
Yeah,
electricity, but
right.
so we got to figure that out. But they looked at the types of each building and the last update, energy efficiency update, and there's some sort of estimate, which I assume was in discussion with Rich or DPW on the eligibility, I think was the word they used, for different additional energy conservation measures. And then predicted out based on life of the building and when next updates might be, predicted out a recommended path to get to zero fossil fuel emissions by 2050. And I've listed here the facilities included in the plan, which isn't everything. So I'm wondering if maybe, John or someone from the working group would like to talk through some of the top level recommendations.
Sure, I can start off that process, and then Mike or Olaf, feel free to jump in as we proceed. So,
Just my apologies, because what's in here is just a summary of your recommendations. I have the full recommendations in the document
in the
to
document,
provide.
in the PDF.
Yeah, but this kind of provides the top level.
Yeah, I think the top level is probably going to be pretty adequate for what we want to do here for discussion. But so the recommendations take a couple of different forms. That the recommendations of our working group came up with. One of the main things that we identified were a number of things that should be included that just aren't included at the moment. This starts with a couple of buildings. In fact, the roadmap is, as Tom indicated, is kind of organized around facilities and buildings in particular. But with that, we felt like the beach sticker office, the health building, and perhaps the Visitors Welcome Center should also be included as part of the roadmap. So at least two of those, the beach sticker office and the health building, seem unambiguously to be ones that should be in part of the roadmap. So the recommendation is to include those. And then in addition, we felt like it was important to include some greater degree of, we use the term prediction, of anticipating electric usage down the line, and in order to support more effective sizing of municipal solar needs. The roadmap does a good job of sort of looking at what's here right now and what its demands are, what the current demands are, and trying to figure out what it would take to get us down to zero by 2050. But there wasn't enough attention, we didn't think, to, well, where is this all going and what are going to be the new demands that are coming online? And that includes the transfer facility that is being contemplated by the town, and will be the subject of public action here pretty soon. But that was one specific probable future demand, and a significant one, that we felt should be at least acknowledged in the roadmap and addressed. And similarly, the schools are a little bit of a tricky piece to include. The roadmap notes that the elementary school is a significant opportunity for reducing carbon. Didn't say anything about the middle schools or the regional high school, and we understand that probably the reason for that is that neither of those are, excuse me, are just under the control of Eastham or under the purview of Eastham, but still they are a part of Eastham, and we feel like there needs to be some attempt to account for their impact, their role, and what should be done. That could be as much as, you know, trying to work with those and with the regional entities to come up with a roadmap that's specific to those components, or it could be some other approach that's taken. But to just leave those not discussed seems like an omission that should be addressed. And then there was acknowledged or allusion in some of the discussion a moment ago to references to open space and what that would mean and what the implications really are and for the roadmap. That just needs more explication. We felt like some more detail needed to be put into specifying what that was all about. Similarly, there was a fairly small section, but potentially significant section on emergency sheltering and the needs of the town for that and the energy demands for that. And we felt like there too, that some more specificity and detail in what went into, what was asserted and what was estimated there could be improved. They said there was a phrase to the effect of, I forget what it was, Mike, I think you highlighted this, that they questioned whether the technology basically was available currently to really conserve energy more for emergency sheltering needs. And we just would like some more detail on that, because that doesn't square with our sort of understanding of where the state of the technology is at. Along with just more specificity about what goes into the metrics for even having an effective emergency sheltering operation. So, and then the last thing was the divergence between the numbers for town vehicles' use of gasoline and diesel. There are certain numbers that were provided in the roadmap for emissions, and there were some comparable numbers that came out of our greenhouse gas inventory that was previously done, and those were discrepant. They didn't line up in a couple of key places, and the detailed comments that Tom prepared and are part of the PDF attachment show exactly what those figures were. Just need to transmit those to the contractor and say, what's up with this? Let's see if we can close the gap between what you have and what we have. So those were the main things. I don't know if there's anything else in the meantime, Mike.
I just had a more overarching question. Why is it just a decarbonization roadmap? Why isn't it a greenhouse gas reduction roadmap?
Let's talk to DOR on that. I don't.
Methane and.
I don't.
The other emissions?
I think my guess, and I can't speak for DOR, is that this is part of their focus from green communities on town facilities and energy efficiency and reducing greenhouse gas emissions through energy efficiency. So they're not addressing the landfill, for instance. Although the landfill is already baked in, there's not much more we can do in the landfill. That's what it is.
But it's also in the inventory. I mean, the landfill, the CH4 is in the inventory.
Right,
so
right.
It is definitely methane.
And our greenhouse gas emissions.
Right.
Yeah.
But not in the
Yes, but
decarbonization.
it's a formula for what a decarbonization policy is.
Yeah.
It's for a plan, any plan.
Yeah.
It seems much more focused on essentially what it is.
I think what they're focused on is the same general area of what their grants are, grants they're going to be making available, things that their grants can do. And so this is setting the town up for future grants.
And it has to be in those areas.
What they call the PON, the program
Opportunity notice.
Opportunity notice hasn't been published yet. So they're very careful about saying they don't know yet, but
Yeah.
most likely, from what we understand, they'll be looking at your roadmap, and if you propose something that's not on your roadmap, they're gonna say you better explain why you're doing something else. So I think that's why. I don't think they fund reduction of, town landfill emissions.
We know it's equivalent, you
Yeah, I
know.
just don't like mixing decarbonization and greenhouse gas.
Yeah, I know.
That's,
I hear you.
Yeah.
There was another item I wanted to ask, and Shane, I don't know if you know what this really is, but you all had picked up on this as well. They use the word trigger events, and it was kind of wide open. They're asking the town for trigger events. Do you have any understanding? Is that a typical word used, trigger events?
I have no idea. My only guess would be like if the town is gonna build a new building or is going to, if something goes offline and needs to be replaced, or just like the town replaces a roof, so that's an event to add solar or something like that. That's a guess. I have no idea what they mean by
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, or maybe the.
And it is a topic that is discussed a lot around electrification, where you have, say, a fossil fuel, a gas hot water heater, and, at midnight on a Saturday, it fails. You call the plumber and they happen to have just the same unit available. And the question is, do you have any plan to electrify that? Can you do that up front so that you know that when that thing fails, you already have a plan in place to replace it with an electric unit? Yeah.
like the electrification of the transportation.
Yeah, exactly.
Vehicles.
Yeah, exactly. Because the idea is that like a hot water heater may last 5 to 10 years, right? So now you have lost the opportunity to decarbonize that specific load. And so, upon failure is a big thing. I don't know if trigger is considered that, but it could be that, when that thing hits 15 years, we need to replace it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Or it could also be maybe things that would prevent you from replacing until something else is done, such as if you're doing a major expansion of a building.
Right.
I assume you wouldn't want to do the HVAC
Right.
of the original building too early. You'd want to wait until.
You can integrate everything.
Yeah.
So I think we need to either we need to define what we.
Well, the town is, we
or
as the town,
we as a town need to define that.
Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, so there's no state DOER incentives that are outside of basically carbon. CO2.
Well,
It's
no,
green communities.
Yeah, but green
They-
communities,
They haven't stated exactly what you can apply for, but I know it's broader than green communities in
Okay.
terms of funding. It can include solar.
well, what about,
It can include, even, seed money for a sustainable officer, that kind of thing.
what about,
What about a compost?
right, that's,
I haven't seen that.
well,
Yeah.
here's my concerns. What do we do with the food waste at the elementary school? What happens to it? Where's it
Probably
go?
goes in the solid waste bin.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so that's methane, right?
Methane.
And it should be counted somewhere.
Oh, it is. It's counted in our greenhouse
Okay.
gas inventory.
But then why are there no state incentives to change that?
Great.
Well, that's a good question.
I mean, it all goes to the same,
You take it up with the state.
okay.
Those sort of ideas, we can go, lobby, we can look around, we can try to find stuff like that. There's so much stuff out there. I suspect we've only seen a part of it. Unfortunately, a lot of it may be going away, but
There's the same thing happening at the residential level.
yeah,
And what are all of our businesses doing with their waste food? When the stuff goes out of date at Super Ed, where does it go? What happens to it?
Yeah, I mean, I know from the working group, and I can speak a little bit for Gary, since he's not here today. But, we are talking about stuff like that at this point in time, and there's even, I can get into it when we talk about the joint efforts, but the idea is to sort of, we have the inventory, we know that CH4 is accounted for it. The question is, where does that CH4 come from? Well, it comes from that CMAS. We are 0.35% of what is being pushed into CMAS, where they take all the trash. So So they're just multiplying all of this, all the factors by 0.35,
Mm.
0.36%. So we had a meeting with the health department to discuss, you know, we initially met to discuss, you know, why are we having a huge increase in solid waste? Turns out not to be the case. The misinterpretation of the numbers, but there is an intern position, I believe, that they're looking to have this summer. And maybe perhaps the health department was interested in maybe using that person to kind of get better numbers and better metrics for Eastham, as opposed to just kind of take the percentage of everybody who takes their trash out of the CMS.
Good.
So
So I guess what I would suggest, just to kind of close out that,
Yeah.
get back to this, the roadmap. I've been trying to keep an eye on all these different newsletters that I've been getting that talk about different grants. And it's a lot of sorting through stuff. Yeah, no, you know, we don't do that. We don't do that. I wonder if a better way to do it would be to identify some good ideas for projects that would be very beneficial, that would be, you know, maybe we could even get shovel ready or close to it. And then we go out and find a source. It might be easier to search in that direction rather than the other way around. So, because I do think there are things available for that sort of, you know, different foundations that would be willing, or even, you know, somewhere in the state, I bet there's something. So let's back to the decarbonization roadmap then. Any other thoughts on changes? So with that, I would entertain a motion to to submit this to, in this case, I think it's to you, Shana, right? Because you're coordinating, you would ask that. So to submit our comments to Shana.
Motion to submit the comments.
We have a second.
Decarbonization roadmap.
Any other questions, comments? If not, all in favor? Aye.
Right.
Opposed?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
there's
want to
six.
thank the working group for really,
Yeah.
the detailed analysis of that.
Yeah, thank you very much for taking the time to do that.
What do y'all think of the approach, giving kind of a summary of what we're doing rather than diving into all the nitty gritty? Does that kind of work?
Yes.
Well, it's up to Shana. What does she think? I mean,
Well, no, in terms of the committee members and voting. Right.
Absorbing the information.
Right.
Has a cheat sheet of sort on each one of these topics.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
lot of work,
Did it?
probably. Wasn't it?
Was that
Was it a lot of work?
to put it together?
Yeah.
If it means that meeting efficiency, I'm happy to do it.
All right. I teed you up.
It helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, it helps.
Yeah.
Okay. With that, let's move on to the wave, which I think this is really exciting. You all have been doing some great thoughts on this newsletter, and I think you're ready for the inaugural edition.
Yeah, thanks to Harriet for working together with me on this. Yeah, I mean, it's in front of you. This is what we propose to send out for the first bi-monthly, so this would be applying to July, August. We're just really looking for the committee's endorsement of this or approval for the look, feel, the name. I mean, the name is a good place to start as any. We wanted to come up with something that was distinctive. Obviously it has some relationship to the substance, but we wanted something that wasn't just, you know, the Energy and Climate Action Committee bi-monthly bulletin, something a little catchier perhaps than that. So we have the wave.
Did you send this out?
It's in the meeting packet.
It's in the meeting. Yeah.
I don't think I did.
I don't think so.
I don't
Yeah,
think so.
that's right. Oh,
in the meeting package itself, there's
yeah, in the meeting packet.
there should be something like this.
It's not a single document, it's within, you know,
Right,
minutes.
Yeah.
that-
Oh,
that
then-
long,
oh,
like-
okay.
It's in the
Yeah.
PDF. It's part of the
Oh.
PDF that was sent out.
While you're looking that up, I will mention at the middle school today, we did the final we reviewed the final presentations from the students, and each one of them stood up and said why, as part of what they were asked to do was introduce themselves and why they thought, you know, climate was important to them. Why are they doing this? And every one of them said the beach.
Oh.
So the wave, I think you know, that's a
Yeah,
good nod to what at least the young folks feel is important.
Excellent. It's a nod to the energy waves that we were talking about and.
Oh, yeah.
Waves in a variety of meanings. That's what we like to think anyway.
You want to put like a lightning bolt on the other side of the wave.
Actually,
Change
I
that.
know.
That's what I just want to do the way. The focus of this inaugural edition is kind of twofold. One is on just saying, here, there's something new that's coming to you. There's a new bulletin here at a very high level is what it's going to be. And then two is the climate action plan and really trying to link up with the great material that the commission has put out there. And focusing on the ways that people can get involved. That's really the centerpiece of this first edition. And then in addition to that, we have this Did You Know feature, which I think we'd like to make a sort of a staple component of each bulletin's edition. Each issue, excuse me. This one's focused on heat pumps, and I think you saw this in the previous draft that we shared. And then anticipating that we would like to distribute this, at least initially, and other than email, in addition to emails, we'd like to incorporate a QR code so if someone sees this in print somewhere, or just in a place where they are able to scan, then they can scan, and that will take them to a place where they can just provide an email address.
Subscribe.
So, and then if you try to do it now, it probably won't work. I'm just warning you, so don't try to do it right now. I need to make sure that's totally, that it will work exactly as we want it to, which means updating that particular QR code. So that's all it means. So that I think, and then in terms of links, the links will function once we've got it set up the way that we want it to be set up. If you were clicking on it right now, I think it's probably saved as a picture in the PDF, and you won't find the links are active, I don't think. But they will be. It will be possible for people who receive this via email to click on it and go to a particular link if they're interested in doing that. That's part of the planning. And we're doing our best to make it work across platforms. I've tested it with a few myself. I tested it with Tom. It's probably not perfect, but we're going to keep trying to refine it and make sure that if you tried to see it on your phone versus on a computer, that it will work out okay. So that's where we're at, and we want to. We're set up to promote it through the COA, thanks to Harriet. And we'd also like to promote it through Facebook as well, and then of course use our email list to send it out and start getting people's attention that way too. So, looking for just big picture reactions. Any sort of red lights that we need to be aware of? Mike's got a red light already.
I just have an issue with the data.
Yes.
I can't believe that heat pump electricity generated by oil and gas have the same tons of CO2.
Well, that's the same tons of
There's an oil-fired power plant should be a lot more CO2 than a gas-fired power plant.
Well, I guess I have a question on what do we mean by that?
Well,
Heat
clean,
pump
clean mean,
electricity.
like
Well,
renewable.
like that's above. There's one above, it's clean.
But what about
That's
the clean grid?
Electricity from oil and gas is the same.
What does that mean?
What's tons of
Electricity
CO2?
from oil and gas. How do I get my electricity from oil?
Yeah. I mean, there's no oil-fired plants that I'm aware of.
I'm gonna have to.
And not, I mean, coal, but still coal is much worse than gas. And then,
Could
is this for heating season?
Jack,
This per
can you lend me?
BTU?
No, I think the only thing I have problem with is it an annualized number?
didn't come from
I,
me.
I don't know, that's why I'm asking.
Look at the
because numbers
source.
Don't make
I mean,
sense.
maybe the source tells you.
Okay,
Mhm.
I'll run that to ground,
Okay,
or, I
Yeah.
thought we were
So-
okay on that.
so yeah, the question is tons of CO2 per heating season, or per what? And then also, there's no way oil and gas to have the same.
Yeah, I'm a little
Carbon footprint.
confused as to even what you're trying to say here.
And then, yeah, you're focusing on efficiency, and then you went to CO emissions.
Yeah,
So-
in the original chart, it
Well-
says there fossil fuel, electricity. Instead of oil gas, it says fossil fuel electricity.
Okay, that makes.
But what does that really mean? Like to us, it's gonna be maybe whatever the current grid
Yeah. the
you're
mix, the
drawing.
current mix,
So it's a
right.
mix, it's not just fossil fuel,
We
right?
have about
Well,
a 50, is it 50,
50%.
50% or something
Let's wait
between so
60.
far?
60,
60 to 70 still.
is it? Right,
Yeah.
wow.
for
And I guess it
natural gas.
changes kind of
Yeah.
month to month,
Yeah.
but.
Yeah.
So maybe that should be current grid. And there are some numbers, John, I can give you the numbers that the commission used in
Okay.
the greenhouse gas inventory, unless you have a better number, Mike, because I
No,
think it
I
varies.
mean, I can run it around, and I just looked at this, and I says, this doesn't look right.
Hmm. Oh, okay.
And then the
Um,
question is, why do we focus on emissions versus efficiency?
Well,
Or energy?
we say,
They use less energy and much better for the environment.
right,
So why don't we focus on energy? Why do we focus on emissions?
because it's much better for the environment.
Okay, but if people are spending, $400 more per month to get better for the environment, they need to know that. And we're not telling them that.
Well, I think
Well-
this chart is just giving one fact, it's not giving the
Yeah.
whole story.
Mhm.
Right.
They've chosen to
Mm.
focus on the emissions in part because
Okay, who's they?
Well,
these two here.
Yeah, me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was about
Alright.
to say. We can't tell the whole story of heat pumps in a one little did you know piece of a bulletin, so I'm
Okay.
trying to.
And that's coming in the heat pump,
Right,
white paper.
Right,
right?
Right.
Yeah, specific facts, it's just.
I have a comment on the text itself, which I think is grammatically, it rubs me the wrong way to see a sentence start with a capital N.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. I see
But
what you're
it's
saying.
marketing.
It's not.
I don't know if it's grammar, but,
People say, these people don't know how to write anything.
Mm.
So I mean, I would just change it as a sentence with three clauses. They use less energy, are much better for the environment, and there are financial incentives for replacing. And I think the financial incentives are for any fossil fuel system, not just oil burners. I think if you replace the gas.
Right.
fire-
You're right.
Correct.
That's a really good catch. Yes, you're right.
Okay.
I assume that this is gonna be sent out pretty soon. I wonder if, attend a public event. Regarding the climate action plan. I know that the commission just sent out a press
We
release,
did. Mhm.
and we all received it, right? Has all the dates for ways that the people could come and get involved. Maybe we could have a link on that. A community workshop July 29th. Maybe just set up a link to that so that they click on it, they can immediately go to the information of who, what, when, and where.
Well, I was also gonna suggest that we send out another email just with the
You do it that way too.
with the publication,
Mhm.
yeah, publicity of that. But I think a link here would be good. Presentation, attend a public event. Yeah, maybe we put a link in there, as you say, that'll go to the full details, so we're all cross-referenced.
So a link to whatever is linked.
The email Tom just
Here's the
sent out.
presentation, which is the January, which,
Right.
that's, fine. Attend a public event.
Mhm.
If you, a community workshop, July 29th, if you link that and then if people click on that, it'll go to the information about
Oh,
all of them.
Right.
Yes.
And the link that's there should do the same thing, get more information above,
Yeah,
but we
you
can
may not-
also
yes,
do that.
because once you've gotten down here, you've forgotten that that's there.
Mhm.
It's just one more thing. Oh, I saw community workshop. What that's about? Click, click. You know.
I found the chart that where you pulled that from, and the original chart says heat pump electricity from fossil fuels.
yeah, that's what.
Yeah, that's what I said, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
Okay. Oh, you did pull it from my thing, right? Sorry.
But we'll have to double check whether that's a full fossil fuel grid, 100% fossil fuel, or 50%, 60% grid, whatever we have.
Well, maybe, I
So,
don't know,
anyways.
if the chart's gonna be maybe just. I don't know if you really need the chart,
Mhm.
perhaps, then just have a little bit more information on what heat pumps are. It's just, if it's just this, a can of worms to have the chart, then maybe it's hard to. Maybe not have the chart, maybe more descriptive words.
Mhm.
Let's go get some graphics, because that's the only graphics in here.
Yeah. I think it's a useful chart. I mean, it does show how
Yeah,
much
okay.
better you can do, especially if you have your own clean energy.
So who should I work with? to
I'll
make
send
sure
you
that
what's
we-
in the data that we got from the commission on the current grid as kind of just so we're consistent.
Mhm.
Like I said, the grid changes month to month, but even day to day sometimes.
Okay. All right, so assuming we can fix this so that the numbers are what they should be. Is the group, do we need to take an action to approve getting this distributed, or?
I think a quick vote would be in order. I mean, this is going out as kind of our inaugural newsletter.
Right, but we've sent out emails to email this before, and I think from now on, this is kind of a special thing that project that we're doing, but I don't think we need to, every time we send something out. Because we've done it in one trial.
Although I do think it's
Yeah.
good to get a look at the words,
Yeah.
right? We caught a lot of good stuff here. It's an excellent document, but you know, it's also always good to have extra eyes on it.
Mhm.
But we're gonna do this twice a month,
Every other month,
Every other.
every
month.
other month. Oh,
Yeah.
that's,
not too bad. Okay, well, with that, do you want to make a motion to?
I make a motion to approve this
With amendments.
with amendments.
Yeah.
The inaugural voyage of the wave.
Oh, no.
Do we have a second?
Helps it's a big splash.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Unless there's any other comments, we'll take a vote. All in favor? Opposed? Okay,
Thank you, everybody.
very good. Nice job. This is excellent. We've been talking about this for a while. This is excellent to see this moving out.
Good.
Okay. So we had an item in here to talk about the solid waste working group. Gary got called out of state because of an illness in the family. So he sent his apologies. Just do either Olaf or Harry, do you want to say anything brief, or we'll just delay it till the next?
We can delay that. I think I just already summarized some of the stuff that we talked about. We were chasing a large, almost doubling in wastewater. Solid waste. But it turns out that they've been able to reconcile those numbers. They were not quite apples to apples. But there's a lot of interest in expanding the food waste program to include businesses, restaurants and things like that. And there's also some ideas.
In school.
Yes, and some ideas about providing or making available these little bins that people can either purchase or if they can find budget for it to essentially give out.
Restaurants.
Yeah, or even to residents to kind of use the drop off of food waste at the station. So that's basically what it is. I sent them the greenhouse gas inventory and the methodology, specifically how they came up with the solid waste piece. For the purposes of maybe thinking about, is there a role for an intern that could help, maybe document or track some stuff at the transfer station in terms of, do people dump everything, are there stuff from other towns being dumped there? Is recycling and waste being put together and dumped into the same place? I think there's evidence in some instances of that. So there's an interest in kind of trying to get a little bit more understanding of exactly how we're using our station.
Good.
Gary may
Excellent,
add
excellent.
more, the color to that next time, but I think that, I don't know if you were in the.
I was,
Board of
I
Health
was,
meeting. Yeah,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
Very good. That's great to see the
Yeah,
attention
there's
on that.
definitely stuff going on there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. So let me give you a couple quick updates. One item, first off, as we discussed last month, July we'll do our discussion on goals. And remember, it's always good to just kind of look back and say, yeah, what's working, what's not. We all did a very quick meeting in December. We can certainly make changes in what's going on in the, in the goals areas that we think would be most beneficial to kind of, we know a lot more now than we did 6 months ago. So I'll put together just a quick outline of because you had one from last year, Roberta, I think, didn't you?
We went through it.
Yeah.
Mid-year.
An outline of how we did last year. So
I just want to interject that I've been working with Lenny and Cheryl on the adaptation goal. And we can certainly discuss the progress of that in next month, but we are also be keen to do a short PowerPoint on what we have learned about the hazard mitigation plan.
Oh, good.
Currently existing. We've studied that. I'd like to share what we've learned because I doubt if any of you have really tackled it 200 and whatever it is.
Right.
So it would be a brief overview of that and present some of the basic top priorities that were expressed for the year 2020. It was 2020 to 2025 is the current plan. And to kind of review as to where we think we are with that and to kind of get your feedback on when the plan or the new hazard plan, the new hazard mitigation plan is going to start this fall. And hopefully one of us will be a representative of that. Get your feedback on what you think might be of value to be looking for.
very good. Fantastic.
So I don't know how much time you would allot for that and for all of the.
Well, you let me know what you think
Okay.
you need for that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a great initiative because we really hadn't spent much time on that. Coming up, the farmers market, and this was a highlight, one of the highlights in the commission's announcement. We have 2 dates, and I thought it'd be best, based on some feedback, that we maybe break up the schedule into 2 2-hour segments. So we're not necessarily, unless you want to, spending the entire morning there. So, and I see another error in my I had the date several places and this popped up again. So it's June 20th and July 25th. They're both Fridays. And I'm thinking 8 to 10 and 10 to noon. So for the first date, June 20th, Mike, you had said you could support. I'll support that one. I can be there. Gary said he would do 10 to noon.
I can do 10 to noon there too, because I could do
Okay.
July 11th, but now. it's
Yeah,
no longer.
excellent. Okay.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Good.
So I put
Good.
it in my calendar already. so
For the 20th.
For the 20th.
Okay. Great.
From the
And
10 to noon.
And I think optimally having 2 people there would be great. That
Yeah.
way you're
Yeah.
you're not stuck there by yourselves. The second date is Friday, July 25th. And I think, Harriet, you said that that date worked for you. Gary had also volunteered for the 10 to noon slot there. Do we have anyone else on the 25th? John?
I can do the 10 to noon, Tom.
Oh, the 10 to noon. Okay.
Yeah, which.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I
put
think
that
I'm.
in wrong. Okay. So, John, what can you do the 8 to 10?
Yeah, 8 to 10 is fine.
Excellent. Do we have anyone else who can do 8
Yeah, I
to
can do
10?
8 to 10.
Oh, that'd be great. Thanks.
That's the 25th.
That'd be the